Hello, beautiful people of the world. I hope your day has been as awesome as you are. Welcome to the Wine and Gist with Monomoxie podcast. My name is Monomoxie, your host, and I am so glad to have you here. Wine and Gist podcast is a safe space for raw, deep, and unfiltered conversations about lifestyle, dating, and relationships today. We've got a lot to talk about, so grab a glass and let's gist. Whoop whoop, episode numero cuatro. We are at episode number 4 of the Wine and Gist podcast. So, first of all, if you've been listening since episode number 1, thank you. Thank you for your support. And all my listeners, I am super grateful to all 3 or 4 of you. So, let's jump right to it with the topic for this week. So, this one is for my single parents. You know, I've been a single parent. I'm married now. I have a blended family. And dating as a single parent is a whole different game because you're dealing with a different set of rules in the dating game. So I kind of want to discuss a little bit about that on this week's topic. So first of all, most people do not set out to be single parents. Most people who are single parents do not sit there and plan their lives as a single parent. Shit happens, right? Maybe you were in a relationship or whatever the situation is. You were careless by having unprotected sex and shit happens. You became pregnant, you decide to keep the baby, you decide to work out a relationship, you're not really compatible for real, shit happens. But there's still this lingering stigma in society against single mothers. Single mothers are basically just generally assumed to be women who made bad decisions, women with daddy issues, women who don't know how to choose the right men, women who don't care about their bodies and open their legs to just anybody. And it's just kind of like a blanket assumption against every single mother, which is really, really messed up. Of course, this isn't excusing the women who are kind of, doing that for ulterior motives. They want child support, they want to be welfare guzzlers, whatever the situations are. However, that's actually a smaller number of single mothers than what society assumes. Single fathers are praised in society. They're glorified. There's like, wow, you toughed it out. What a good man. What a good dad. And that is obviously single fathers who have the same involvement and schedule with their children as single mothers do. They're praised. Whereas single mothers are looked at as, girl, go somewhere. We're not going to applaud a fish for swimming. The stigma that I hate, I resent so much, one of them anyway, is this idea that we're just damaged goods and we were just fucked and left. And it's crazy to me because has it ever occurred to any of these people who make those assumptions that many of us are intelligent young women who realize that this isn't the path we wanted to follow? Speaking for myself, that was exactly my thought process. I met this person. It was all fun and games. I got pregnant and I thought, whew, all right, this is tough, but let me make something out of it. Let me stick it out and build my family. Well, that did not work out, obviously. And that was because I woke up one day and I decided that this is not how I want to live. He was not up to the standards that I wanted from a man. And I had tried so hard that a second child came out of it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of against staying for the kids, because it's just not good for anybody involved. It's not good for you. It's not good for, the person that you're with. It's not good for the kids. You might think you're doing something with that, but no, you're only teaching them that tolerance is love, because children do watch the people they're growing around, and they watch and they see as an example. And if you guys just kind of like deal with each other, just tolerate each other, there's no really love, no real spark between you two. Kids grow up seeing that and they attribute that to a normal relationship. And that's why a lot of people have a hard time displaying their affections in relationships because they don't know how. They never saw an example of how. So I left and I worked hard. I broke my back. I struggled. I went through turmoil. I went through shit. I went through hell raising my kids. I never got any child support. I barely got, any help with watching the kids. All of it was me. And I just kind of wore that hat and I said, you know what? These are my kids. This is my responsibility. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do me. And I hustled and I worked hard. So to kind of be placed in that category of the blanket assumptions that single mothers are just trash who are looking for freebie life. It's like, really? Like, fuck you. I worked very hard for every penny that I spent on my kids and on myself. I've worked very hard for the place that I am today. Now, me being me, I'm going to serve a piece of cake to everybody because there are single mothers who perpetuate that negativity, that ratchetness, and sis, y'all are killing us out here, you know? Now, I'm not judging you, but I am holding you accountable. If you are a single mother out here with 5 kids and 4 baby daddies, and you're still online complaining about men, complaining about being played, complaining about this and that and blah, 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 when it comes to men and relationships and your baby daddies and blah, 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 it's like, okay, at what point do you hold yourself accountable for the choices you made? I mean, you had the first child with the first baby daddy didn't work out. Okay, shit happens. You had the second child with a baby daddy didn't work out. Shit happens. Now you're having a third one, but you're doing it with the same kind of guy. Different man, but cut from the same cloth as the others. You literally cannot keep dating the same type of person and expecting a different type of relationship. And then boom, a third, fourth, fifth child gets in there. And it's like, what are you doing? I am holding you accountable. I am, because you like at some point you got to stop and be like, well, okay, this man that I'm dating next, I need to be very, very careful with, because I don't want another child by someone else and then have to deal with another relationship. So be careful, be strategic, and be forward. Talk about it. Be like, hey, this is what I want. This is not what I want. And be on, agreeing terms with each other on what is going to happen if shit goes that route. And if you see that this man is not the type of man that will stick around, and a lot of the example comes from the fact that maybe he has other kids that he has never stuck around, that's a big like red flag for you to notice that, hey, this is probably not someone I should procreate with. So in that situation, what the hell, like I said, I'm not judging, I'm holding you accountable. And I hold the men in the situations just as accountable too. Because at some point, after so many children with so many people, you have to stop and say, what am I doing? Am I getting serious with this person? And what are the terms of the seriousness? Because just popping the babies out when you yourself are not in a good financial standing, you're not fully independent and able to take care of these kids, it's just kind of like, okay, you've reached that point in your life where you should know better. You should be a little more careful. Honestly, I also think a big part of what is to blame is how normal this baby daddy, baby mama thing has become. It's almost like a cultural norm now. And this does exist in every culture across the planet. However, as a Black woman, I am going to address my Black people. I'm going to hold my Black people accountable. So I'm talking to my Black people. That baby daddy, baby mama thing that has been, it's like normalized, especially in the Black culture. It's like, no, that's absolutely not okay, because your language has a lot to do with what you manifest. I've heard young girls talk about having baby daddy, or my baby daddy. Oh, when I have a baby, my baby daddy is going to be like this. My baby daddy is going to be like that. And I'm like, well, how about husband? And you don't necessarily have to believe in marriage, but you have to want some kind of commitment before proceeding into procreation, don't you? I mean, like I said, those of us that were young, dumb, and didn't know better, shit happens, right? But once you reach a certain age where you do know better, or you've had so many kids where you do know better, these things do have to come into play for you. Anyway, back to why dating is completely different for single parents. The dating rules are totally different for single parents. When I was dating as a single parent, one of my personal rules was that you don't meet my kids until we have established a relationship. We are committed and we are working towards a life together. Like I said, shit happens and nobody plans for it. But in that moment, this is what we are working on. This is what we're talking about. This is what we've agreed on. We both care about each other. We want to see where this goes. Only then do I allow that person to meet my kids. because I do not believe in having a parade of men in and out of my children's lives. I don't want my daughter seeing that. And that's just my personal perspective, my personal opinion on it. I don't want my daughter to see men after men come in. I don't want my son to see men after men come into my life. I mean, I dated. I'm a grown woman. I dated when I was single, but I separated my kids from my dating life until it was serious. Obviously, that came with some limits on growing your relationship because there were certain things like, hey, it's 9 o'clock at night. Can I come over and chill? But it's a school night. I'm with my kids and we haven't established that yet. So you haven't met them. So I have to kind of say, no, I'm not able to chill right now. But in a situation where you don't have kids, sure, come over and chill. So sometimes that's a little turnoff-ish to people who are just like, you know what? She's always with her kids. She's a mother. I just really want someone that's available, that doesn't have to share their time. And if that's what you want, that's you. You're 100% entitled to that opinion. You're 100% entitled to what you want. No hard feelings. No one should have hard feelings, right? You think that it's tough dating a single parent because it is. They have to prioritize their children on certain occasions. They have to, put their kids first on certain things. And that can get tough for someone who is looking for your attention more consistently. This is one of the reasons why in the previous episode, I mentioned that one of the questions you should ask on the first date is, if they have kids or they don't have kids, what do you feel about being a step parent? How do you feel about being a step parent? Because if you're dating to be serious, you want to knock that out of the ballpark. They need to understand that, okay, I am getting into seriousness or into a dating goal or whatever the situation is with this person who has children. At some point, I will be expected not to be necessarily like their father or pay for them or anything like that. I know a lot of guys get terrified with that idea, but the fact that you are growing or the kids are growing up around you, you do have a slight obligation to, kind of be a father figure to them. And if someone is not ready for that, it's going to be a tough relationship. It's going to be very tough. They're going to be not so understanding. And, you want to knock that out of the ballpark, like I said. Ask that on the first date. How do you feel about being a step parent? And that's something that's just a no for them. Neither of you can waste your time any further. I once dated somebody briefly. It was just like a few months. And off the get-go, I did ask the question. And they were like, I'm not really used to the idea of it, but I'm willing to, give it a shot. I haven't really been around kids like that, but I like you and I want to give it a shot. Obviously, at the time, I hadn't really gathered what I wanted to hear in order to proceed with someone. And that answer it's a little iffy because you're like, yeah, you want to try it out. But then like, what if it doesn't work out? Should I invest my time or should I just kind of go with the flow? So it was a little iffy, but I gave it a shot and I said, sure, whatever. Never met my kids, never did. But there were, obstacles. There were times when I couldn't make it to things, and especially when I was like pulling 2-3 jobs, trying to make ends meet on my own. It was busy. It was hard. I mean, I could only see him certain times. And, when we would sneak if the kids were like, sleeping or around. And it's like, it was just a lot. So one day he came up to me, he said, you know what, let's talk. And I said, let's talk. And he said, to be honest with you, I thought I could do this, but I can't. I want someone that is there more consistently. And if I'm going to have children, I want to start my family from scratch. I want an original family. I want children that are mine and hers and whatever the situation is. And I said, okay. It hurt a little bit, of course, but I completely understood where he was coming from, and I appreciated his honesty. And from then on, that's when I became adamant on that question. Like, look, I am dating. I'm looking for seriousness. I'm looking for commitment. I have children. So how do you feel about someday being a step parent? And this is not me asking you to fruit the bill or take on, financial responsibilities, but you will have an obligation to be a father figure. So I started knocking out off the get-go, and I realized that when I was asking these questions, it helped me root out a lot of potential, people that were potentially not going to work out. And I feel like, in my personal opinion, that saved me a lot of bullshit and heartache and time and effort and all that. One thing about me is that I believe that parenthood is not my entire identity. Motherhood is not all of what I am. It's just part of what I am, a big part of what I am, but part of it. I still have my individuality. I still have who I am. I still have the things that I enjoy, the things I love, my aspirations, things that I want to do in life. And I strongly believe in finding a balance between parenthood and being who you are. Of course, that's easier said than done, depending on your situation, your financial standing, the village you've got to help you. All of that depends, right? But what I'm getting at is I was never the mom that was super attached where it's like, oh, nobody can watch my kids. I don't trust anyone to watch my kids. So that was never the case. But I was, when this situation happened where I got rejected because of kids, I was at a time where my children were very young, very young. They were toddlers. My daughter wasn't even in kindergarten yet. And, I really didn't have as much time as I do now that they're older. Now, I'm not going to say that situation did not affect me because it did. I was sad and I felt discouraged about dating. I felt like, oh my gosh, is this kind of what the reality is? Are people going to be afraid of being with me or not want to be with me because I have kids? So that kind of actually made me develop a very boss lady attitude, right? Like I am a boss lady, but I never really walk around like I'm a boss lady, I'm a boss bitch. But in that period of time, I developed that attitude because I felt like I needed to prove to the men that I was dating that I didn't want them for financial reasons or to play daddy or whatever the situation is. I just wanted commitment. I was ready to be committed. I was ready to build something with someone. So I took on that personality of I've got this covered. And that is because of that situation. It affected me so much that I had so many thoughts about it. Does he think that he's going to be spending money on them? Does he think that he's going to be responsible for them? Does he think I'm just going to give up on life and lay all my stresses and financial issues on him? What exactly was that? And I convinced myself that it had to be about the dependency thing. They think that I'm going to be a depender, a dependent is kind of a military term, but they think I'm going to be dependent on them. And that's what my thought process was. So off the get-go, even though I did ask the questions that I asked on the first date, I also kind of made it clear that I had my shit together. I was doing me. I was working on my life. I was moving forward. I'm in school. I am doing all these great things. And it's gassing myself up off the get-go because I had this idea that if I didn't do that, it would scare them away because I had kids. Now, obviously, this was young and naive Mona, of course. Like I said, I was just going through life, learning about who I was, learning about what I wanted, learning about where I wanted to be, just learning about me, and then doing it side by side with raising 2 children on my own. So it was definitely tough, and I went through some very tough mental moments where I just made things up in my head, and I just thought that was the reality, and I just went with it. Now, what I learned from carrying that attitude, the boss bitch attitude, was that I was actually attracting the wrong kind of men. I was attracting the men that were all about 50-50. They were all about we're going to split things down in the freaking middle. They were all about, yeah, she's a boss bitch. That means she'll pay half the bills. And don't get me wrong. Like I said, I've been a single mother. I had my shit together. I raised my kids on my own. That's not a problem. That's absolutely not a problem. But I personally refused to get into anything with anyone who carried that mentality. It just was not my prerogative, and I made 0 apologies about it. I can take care of myself. I'm a grown woman. I'm a hardworking woman. I have ambitions. I have aspirations. I'm working on them. I'm working towards my goals actively, and I'm doing great things with my life, and I'm doing great things for my family, for my children. And I'm ready to commit. I'm ready to be in a serious relationship with someone. I'm ready to build and grow old with someone. I will not do that with somebody that nitpicks every fucking penny of our lives. I'm not going to do that with someone who would pay for the date and then send me a Cash App request for half the bill. I will absolutely not live that kind of life with someone. That doesn't mean I'm trying to be dependent or I'm trying to dupe somebody for money or I'm trying to just be some kind of trophy wife and put my responsibilities on somebody else. No, that's not the case at all. It's just because I believe in filling in the blanks. Filling in the blanks. Whatever the blanks are in your relationship, I believe in filling them in. We all have different strengths and we all have different weaknesses. What your significant other is strong at may be something you're weak at. And if they expect you to meet them halfway, you will be struggling a little harder to get up to that because that's where they're already at. That's your weakness. So I think in a relationship, people need to focus on their strengths and, just kind of make that exchange. Something you're stronger at, maybe you take on, and something that your significant other is stronger at, maybe they take on. I believe in filling in the blanks, even if it's a financial blank, because yeah, in a lot of these cases, the people who are 50-50, a lot of times cannot afford to go further than that. And that is completely understandable. But if you can afford to, but you're just being vindictive towards your significant other because you have this idea that you're going to be duped or taken for everything you've got, it's like, okay, no, I want absolutely nothing to do with that relationship because I'm not going to live my life constantly trying to prove that I'm not that person. And I'm not going to live my life stretching to meet them halfway on things that are my weaknesses, but it's like their strengths. And these were my thought process and these are my beliefs. And carrying these beliefs as a single mother definitely made dating a little bit, more hectic and complicated, but I stuck by them. And after I got out of my funk from that one person that told me I had kids and they couldn't go further, after I got out of that funk, I was a whole new person. I had a clearer mindset of what I wanted. I had a clearer idea of where I was going. And well, I am now married happily, and the rest is history. So that whole idea that, oh my gosh, nobody will want you because you're a single parent is just bullcrap. And if there's anybody telling you that, especially your baby daddy, he's full of shit. Dating as a single parent that's trying to commit, there's a lot less leeway for games and let's see how this goes. It's just, you got to just get straight with it. And what I mean by that is you need to gauge their mindset. You literally don't have time. Because another thing that's really, really hard is parenting with a broken heart. When you're sad, you're upset, especially something that you had so much hopes for. You had already started developing futuristic ideas, like you were seeing them in your future, placing them in your future plans. And then it goes awry. It's heartbreaking. And then you have to wake up and parent with that. Being a single parent with a heartbreak, oh man, it's hard. I mean, single parenting is already so fucking hard when you're just perfectly fine and happy. And then having to get up and do it with a heartbreak is a whole nother level. So protect yourself as much as you need to and be straight about it. Be like, look, I'm just trying to protect myself because I literally don't have time to keep hopping through relationships and hopping through people. So just let me know what the fuck you're about right now so I know what I'm doing. And do not let the infatuation that, there goes that word again, the infatuation that you're feeling towards someone cloud your judgment. Yeah, maybe you've been through a time when you've been so lonely, you finally meet someone that you connect with, and things are great. You guys are having a good time, but if they're not compatible with you deeply and are not willing to take on that role with you, it's not going to end well. And when you've created this idea of your future and you're just kind of working towards it and betting on it, and then it just goes poof, that sucks. So my advice is set a standard and do not deviate from it, but also be realistic about the standards that you're setting. You have to be realistic about them. If not, they're just not going to work. Set a standard. I am big on communication and just transparency and honesty. Just level with people, right? You meet someone and be like, look, this is what's going on in my life. This is what I'm looking for. Just level with people and be straightforward and be real and spill it all out so they know exactly what they're getting into. And if they want to proceed, great. If they don't want to proceed, great, right? You didn't waste your time. And, that fear that nobody will want you or nobody will want to put up with you, it's real. I've been through that fear before, especially being rejected because I had kids. It's a very, very real fear, but you cannot let it control you and lead you into a relationship that's not really, really what you want or what you need. You're not really, really happy and you know it, but you're terrified of what would happen if you walk away. Like I said, I keep saying this, I was a single parent, all by myself, doing it all alone, no help, no support. And today I am a married woman, happily married. I have a business, I have businesses, I have several hustles, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a homeowner. My husband and I own a home. We're raising our 3 children in it. and things are going great. So it is possible. It's not just possible, it is guaranteed that you can find someone that is right for you, someone who is good for you, someone you are great with and compatible with when you are a single parent. You are able to find that you are worthy of that. So do not settle. Please do not settle. Please do not take crap because you think no one else will want you or they'll be terrified. Yeah, there are a lot of men out there who are terrified of being with a single parent, a single mother. And you know what? They're entitled to that opinion. It is okay. That is very okay. They're not evil people. They're not wrong. They're not bad. They have a dating preference just like everyone else. And they don't want to put up with it. So that's fine. But you need to know that off the get-go so you're not investing your time and efforts into that. I do want to add that sometimes it's not necessarily about the kids or that you have children. It's usually what comes with that that sometimes terrifies people, like a baby mama or a baby daddy. Because, a lot of times we talk about more baby mama drama and bitter baby mamas, but there are also bitter baby daddies and baby daddy dramas. And a lot of times it terrifies people, even people with children. Some of them will be like, oh, well, I don't want to be with someone with children. And that's like, well, that's hypocritical. But I can see like kind of the idea behind it only because dealing with that baby mama issue and baby daddy issue sometimes can be tough, especially when it is an angry, bitter, vindictive, baby mama or baby daddy. So a lot of times too, it's not just that they're worried about life with the kids or committing to you with kids. A lot of times is they don't want to deal with that other person. And shit, like if you've had any real baby mama, baby daddy drama, like this shit can just get really ugly. I've witnessed it. I have, lived it a little bit. And it's just not, it's just, terrible thing to go through. So I totally get it why some people get turned off by that because they don't want to deal with that. But like I said, transparency, communication, I appreciate when people are just straightforward with me. So I tend to be that way with people as well. So just talk about it, be honest, be real, talk about where you are. Don't gas up yourself in a way that, it is kind of unrealistic and you can't meet those expectations. Don't say things to try to, please somebody that's not true because you're just trying to entice them to stay with you. Just be real about who you are, where you're at, your position in life. Just be real about all of it. And that is my biggest advice when it comes to dating as a single parent. So we have made it to the end of episode 4 of the Wine and Gist with Mona Moxie podcast. Thank you again for listening. Please stay tuned, share, comment. I love feedback. Follow me at Wine and Gist Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Until next time, go on and be great.